Welcome to the Riveters CAD Training Team 1481 Autodesk Inventor Lesson 5. We're going to be creating the top tubes for the frame, or the rear cross tube, top tube, the side top tube, and the front rail top tube. We are going to start flying now. I'm going to teach you a couple tricks on going faster. Now that you know how to do the sections and create enough parts, we'll repeat one tube, a one by one tube, and move on. I hope you're tired of tubes by this point because we've done enough of them. So everything in yellow we have created. We're going to be creating this rear cross tube, the rear red cross tube. So let's jump to it. Create a part. Save the part. DWG2. Rear cross member. Top tube. Since we're going across the top, we're going to come from the side view. This time is a little different. We could set the two sides to be the same length. However, I like to run the two dimensions on. That way if someone changes their mind later, or I change my mind later, you can change it quickly. Come in and create another rectangle. Same thing, we're going to create the wall thickness. 0.1, 0.1. Oops, there was a mistake there. So I set that to 1. I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to double click on it, and I'm going to change it to 0.1. And that will fix it. Finish the sketch. Come in and extrude. Touch on this. It's the rear cross tube is 30 inches long. Set it symmetric. Say OK. Let's come in and change the material to aluminum 6160. We're missing the holes in the top. Let's come in and create holes. Basically pan down there. 0.164. Set the center of the hole to the center of the end of the tube. Dimension from the end of the tube to the center of the hole. Finish the sketch. Extrude. Cut through all. We're going to create a rectangular pattern. Come in and touch on the hole. Hit direction 1. Make sure you grab only the side. Flip the direction. 30 inches long, so 30 holes. Say OK. Alright, we're done with that, so let's come in and say File, Save, and Check In. Now we're going to do something a little bit different. For the side rail top tube, we're going to say, come in here and say Save it. Oops, you know what, we forgot. I'm going to check it back out. Forgot to put the holes in the sides. Come in, put a hole here, a hole here. We're going to create holes from each end. So as we did before, we want to set the center of the hole to the center of the end of the tube. And I'm going to use that same reference point. Come to the center of this, the center of the end of the tube here, the center of the end on the right side to the center of the hole. And now let's put the dimensions in between the end of the tube to the center of the hole. It's 1.625. And that same dimension will be on the other side. In this case, it's 2.75. Let me show you something new. So in this case, instead of typing it in, let's say we want to make sure that both these dimensions on both sides are the same. All I have to do is click on that dimension. What it does is it links the distance on the right hand side to the distance on the left side. Let's do that again. We'll come in, zoom in, create another dimension here. Come up dimension, and then come in and touch on 2.75. And what that does is immediately sets it. So if we change the dimensions on the left, it will drive the dimensions on the right. And the one thing we're missing right now is the hole diameter. So we're using 1024 bolts, so that's 191. And now let's check and make all the other holes equal to the hole that was dimensioned. Everything's blue, constrained. Let's finish the sketch. Let's extrude. Come in for the cut. Zoom in. Touch on the profiles. Set this to all. Say OK, and we're done. So let's save and check that back in. Okay, so up to this point, we've been generating a new part every time. We start from scratch, create a new part. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to save this part as a different part. So now we're going to come in and save this as DWG 2 underscore side rail top tube. I don't want you, put your initials in for DWG. So now this is a brand new part. What we've done is we just copied this part, and now what we need to do is make this for the side rail. So we need to change some of the dimensions on this part in order to make it work. So the length of the tube, the rear cross member, is 30, but the side rail is 40. So if we double click on this extension and we change the 30 to a 40, it automatically updates. But wait a minute, the holes didn't go all the way. Well, now we have to come in and double click on the pattern and change from 30 to 40 here. And then, given the design of the part, the second holes on the inside aren't required, and the dimension changes slightly. So this sketch actually drove all of those holes. So if we click on the sketch, double click on the sketch, it brings it up. I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to touch on the left or the right hand hole on the left side and hit delete, and do the same thing on the other side over here. Delete that hole. Then, oh, this is going to be good. Double click on 1.625 and change that to 0.625. The hole on this side changes, the dimension from the end changes, and look, changed over here. Say finish sketch, and what happened is the extrusion got confused because it was anticipating 4 holes and it went from 4 to 2. So you double click on extrusion, it brings it back up, it corrects the profiles and fixes it. So the part is now done, which is a lot easier than having to create the section, put all the properties on. So we're going to say save, and we're going to say check in. And now we're going to do the same thing, but for the front top rail. So file, save as. We change side to front. Come in and say save. Let's set the length. The front top tube is 6 inches long. So we say OK, and the hole spacing needs to go from 5/8 to 1 5/8. You have to be asking yourself, where did all those dimensions come from? We'll get into that later on, what was driving these holes. These holes are used to basically go to the corner braces. 1.625. That updates. Say OK. And the part's done. Look how fast that was. That probably took less than a minute to do. In fact, the original part took 16 minutes, and it's like 10 minutes and 45 seconds to make 3 parts. So we're now below 3 minutes, a little bit above 3 minutes to make a part. So we're going to save this and say Vault, check in, and we're done. Congratulations. That is the end of lesson 5.